Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo. Bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jed Lee, and this is Reading with Your Kids. We're coming at you with love from the historic neighborhood of Reedville, tucked into the southwest corner of beautiful Boston, Massachusetts. Our mission here is all about connection, connecting kids with books, families with each other, and communities through the power of story. Every week we're joined by incredible authors and creators whose work lights up kids' lives. You can support this mission and help spread the word by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network, and they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, Audible, YouTube. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. Two wonderful guests for you today. First up, Mark Viniello. He's here to celebrate Enchantails. This is a book. It's a mermaid sleeping bag. It's a great thing. You're going to love meeting Mark. Later in the show, Krista Leann is here to celebrate Finicky Francis. This episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by the books by Robert Provan, Sammy and Scarlett's Mangrove Adventure, and Sammy and Scarlett's Coral Reef Adventure. The first book in the series, Mangrove Adventure, recounts the tale of two young fish who live in a tidal pool in the Florida Keys. Sammy is a sergeant major fish, and Scarlett is a yellow-tailed snapper. They are different species from one another, and they don't look anything alike. But despite this, they become best of friends. They learn that it's not the color of the fish's scales that matters, but rather whether or not they have a loving heart. Sammy and Scarlett's Coral Reef Adventure is the second book in the series and tells the story of Sammy and Scarlett's continuing journey from the shelter of the mangrove forest in search of their adult home on the coral reef. The two fish are befriended along the way by Howie, the hawk-billed sea turtle, who helps them through the dangers they will face ahead. Together, the three explore the amazing underwater city that is a coral reef. You and your family are going to love these books. Check them out today. The Books by Robert Provan. Get ready, adventure fans. Toby Baxter is back. In I Heart River Home, the fourth thrilling book in the Adventures of Toby Baxter series, written by Tim Wright, 13-year-old Toby dives into his most unexpected quest yet. He's battling trolls, navigating the sandpit of love, and getting stuck with an LOVE compass. But when the girl of his dreams, Rainey, is kidnapped, Toby must summon more courage than ever before. All four books in the Adventures of Toby Baxter series have been honored as Reading with Your Kids certified great reads, each packed with fast-paced action, humor, and heart. So grab your copy of I Heart River Home today and join Toby on an unforgettable journey through River Home, where every page is an adventure. This episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Find a Tree, a beautiful picture book by Lauren Chandler McCluskey. Are you or your kids ever bored, thirsty, restless, or just looking for a little adventure? Then Lauren Chandler McCluskey's brand new picture book, Find a Tree, is a perfect place to start. This joyful, imaginative story invites kids to discover just how many magical moments can begin with one simple idea: find a tree. Whether you love music or dominoes, ice cream or caterpillars, whether you want to swing on a tire, build a fort, sit in the shade, or snack on s'mores, there's always a tree waiting to welcome you. Perfect for nature lovers, curious kids, and families who want to slow down and explore the world right outside their door. If you've ever wanted to find a tree, this is the book for you. Pick up your copy of Find a Tree and let the adventure begin. Joining us from the land of make-believe, Los Angeles in California, our guest is here today to celebrate his this is more than just a middle grade novel. It's like a brand, and I'm really excited about it. We're going to be talking about Enchantails. Please welcome to the show, Mark Viniello. Mark, how are you?
Oh, I'm great, Jed. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm looking. Mark is wearing his Beatles T-shirt, and I was really bummed out the other day. I saw these clips on Instagram of young people, 20, 25 years old, and they have no idea who the Beatles are. And I'm like, dude, how can that be? How can I have lived so long that people have forgotten about the Beatles?
I don't know. But there is a little hope. There is that movie that came out a few years ago called Yesterday. And it was about what would happen if the Beatles never existed and one guy remembers them. It's a brilliant film. If you're even a fringe Beatles fan, I highly, highly recommend this film.
I didn't see that, but I do remember it. Yes.
You should definitely check it out. It was one of the best films that year. It's a great, great movie.
I'll make a note of it. In the meantime, we should check out Enchantails. What's this? Oh, I did. There's sleeping bags and there's stories and there's all sorts of great stuff.
It's a lot. Where to begin? I think we can go back to the beginning. We can go back, a few years ago. I'm a special effects artist. I do makeup effects, creatures, monsters, and things for movies. Not CGI, it's actual stuff that's on the set. And I was working on an Adam Sandler film called Bedtime Stories. There's a moment in the film where the actress Kerry Russell is a mermaid for a sequence. So I, was given the task of casting her mermaid tail out of foam rubber. And at the time, my oldest daughter was like 5, and she was obsessed with the Little Mermaid. So I called her into the shop, and I'm like, "Hey, let's take a look at this." And she climbed in the thing, and she kept trying to make it flip, but she was so tiny, it looked like an alien's trying to pop out of the middle of the tail. And I couldn't get her out of the thing. And I'm like, Ava, I gotta, finish this thing. And she's like, okay. And then for the rest of the week, she was like, Daddy, can you make me a mermaid tail? Daddy, can you make me a mermaid tail? Daddy, can you make me a mermaid tail? And I'm like, for me to mold your legs, sculpt the tail, make the mold, generate, by the time I'm done with that process, you will have outgrown it. It takes that long and you grow that fast. So finally, really, just to shut her up, I got some green sheet foam. I fashioned a quick tail. I cut off half a pantyhose and I put her legs in it and I slid the tail on her. And she crawled around the house, would watch The Little Mermaid, would flip her tail, and then her sisters were like, well, where's ours? And I'm like, all right, well, but it has to be different than Ava's. And I'm like, all right, so I made them tails. And then they're all, I have these kids crawling around the house. And then one of them asked me, he's like, Daddy, where do I live in the ocean? And I went, all right, come with me. And we went to Google Maps, and I'm like, the Mariana Trench, because that's the only place in the ocean I knew the name of. And she kind of freaked out. I was like, that's a real place? And I'm like, yeah, you live in the Mariana Trench. And she's like, where do I live, Dad? And I said, you live in the Great Southern Ocean by Antarctica. And then they started asking, to tell stories about their mermaid worlds and what it's like. And so I would tell bedtime stories. They'd be in their tales. And I started thinking, their friends would come over and they'd be like, what are these? And so I thought, how can I share this with other families whose dads aren't special effects artists? My wife and I put our heads together, and this was before there was any swim tails or anything. And, for about 5 minutes, I thought, maybe I could make something out of latex that would hold up in the water. But then I started thinking, no, somebody's going to throw their kid in the deep end and thinking this tail will help them swim. And I'm like, I don't want any of that. Mm-hmm. And a colleague of mine I was having coffee with, he said, what about a sleeping bag? Because this was, and I thought, that's not a bad idea. And it kind of steamrolled from there, where I thought, how can, because I can never do anything simple, like how can we bring the story off the page and really make it something? And that was kind of how it started. And my wife and I started developing it from there. She was really in charge of the lore. I was more in charge of the art and getting stuff done.
I love that. I love that an empire was created because you wanted to get it up. I'm just like...
it was an idea. How do these ideas start? I don't know if we're an empire yet, because, as an effects artist, to be completely candid, I can make all kinds of stuff. I can make cool stuff. I never took a business class. I never took a marketing class. And there's a lot of other factors, a lot of other boxes to check when you take an endeavor like this. Mm-hmm. And I probably would have done things a little differently knowing then what I know now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that every person who started a business, whether they went to business school or not, could probably say the same thing.
Yeah. I look at it this way. I just got a very good business lesson over the last few years as I've been stumbling through trying to make this thing work. So we did it all ourselves. I bootstrapped it like, we need this much money for prototypes. And I'm like, let me see what other jobs I can scrounge up. Being in the motion picture industry, it's, you work, you go from job to job. It's not really a fixed income. So as many jobs as I could fit into a 24-hour day would help us fund the project.
Yeah. That's really exciting. And one of the things that we haven't been talking about so much lately, but especially in the early history of the podcast when we had, when most of our authors were indie authors and self-published authors, I really stressed to them that when you become an author, whether you're indie or traditionally published, you're starting a business.
100%. And, that was part of the motivation to make the stories with something attached to them. Because I thought, nobody's going to buy a mermaid tale story written by a special effects guy. And I'm not that great of a writer, but I thought if there was something that could get attention, it would help with the marketing. And that's why we have the sleeping bags with the stories. And I employed several authors to help me write the stories. And the original plan was to introduce the world to, from ages 5 to 12-ish. And, we have several different stories, several different areas of the ocean. And then we were going to continue the stories with a young adult series. And the first stories they read were going to dovetail into these stories. So it'll be the same characters, but in teenage, more thematic themes. And, there was a whole marketing theory behind it. Like each mermaid realm has a special logo. And as kids, we hung on to stuff. We remember stuff, and kids are loyal. So, if our Antarctic mermaid was their mermaid and that was their world, they will remember elements about it. And if they saw the young adult books, whether they got news it was happening or not, it would trigger something they'd hopefully want to continue the journey with us.
Yeah. So many, one of the things about the Harry Potter books is those characters grew.
100%. And the story changed, the story evolved with it. And that was what we wanted to do, is we wanted our audience to grow with us. And, I'll be honest, like Harry Potter was part of the inspiration. American Girl was part of the inspiration. I'm a firm believer on, stand on the shoulders of giants. Look at what people have done before and see what you can learn from that, and then, take it as far as you can. But it's a changing world out there with publishing and self-publishing. Everything seems to be on its ear right now. So in addition to just trying to launch the business, trying to find my footing with this rapidly changing field that I was never in was tricky.
Yeah. You and I were talking a little bit about AI and the effect that it might be having on creators, whether they're authors or special effects artists, CGI programmers, I guess. I don't know.
VFX artists, yeah.
Yeah. What's the buzz in Hollywood? What's the thinking? Is this a freight train that we can't stop?
It depends who you talk to. And because right now we're still trying to figure out what this is and what the impact is going to be. I will say the genie is out of the bottle, and we are going to have to figure out a way. It's going to be part of the workflow, whether we like it or not. But ultimately, what's to skate where that puck is going, it's hard to say at this point. Could it be a novelty? Sure. Could it completely change the way movies are made? Sure. It's really going to come down to audience expectation and what audience accepts. Like if someone was to make an AI movie of Marilyn Monroe versus Bruce Lee, and they got the rights from the estates and they made this film as a novelty, I'm sure people would go see it. I'd check it out. I'm a Bruce Lee fan. But is this something that can carry on that people will be interested in? I always go back to the Avatar films. Like James Cameron was convinced that 3D was going to be the future of films. I'm not so sure that's accurate now. Things are, the tide is shifting and things are changing. So, AI is here to stay. How it's going to work into the workflow ultimately, I don't know. But currently, I would say, one of the strongest uses would be just to get us over something, artistically the equivalent of writer's block. If someone asks for an alien, it's like, well, we've done a gajillion aliens since the beginning of film. And, maybe to get some ideas or something to help, but, we'll never use AI as a finished product to present to a client or anything like that. Far from it. In fact, there seems to be a little bit of a pushback when people see AI art or AI videos. You can still tell that it is, but as a dear friend of mine always says, today, right now, is the worst AI will ever be.
Yeah. It's that sixth finger that always gives it away.
I think they've ironed that one out. I think they've got that figured now. But again, it's, I'm starting to be able to see stuff that was written by AI when you see certain posts and things. And I think people just have to be a lot more critical and a lot more prudent. But I do think still, like, I went to Florence not too long ago and I saw David and the place was packed. That you can still go see something that was made in the 1400s by hand and still just inspire awe. So I don't think traditional art is going away. It's definitely going to evolve, but I still think there will be appreciation for human art.
Yeah. You mentioned David's sculptures. That's something that just boggles my mind. It's one thing to start with nothing and then kind of create, and you did, and that doesn't work. You tried this, but you got a big hunk of rock and then you just start banging away at it. And next thing you know, there's this beautiful.
And it's a very unforgiving art, chiseling. Like you make a wrong hit and I don't know, Michelangelo had almost a mystical belief that he would examine the marble. And his belief was the sculpture already existed fully formed inside the marble, and he just chipped away the excess to liberate what was already there.
Yeah. Tell me, we're going to talk more about Enchantails, but as an artist, doing the practical special effects, what was the most challenging thing that you've ever had to create? And, a director, a producer comes up to you and says, I need this. And you sat down thinking, how in the world?
That happens at least once in every script I get because, even though we use a lot of the similar techniques, a lot of times we're making stuff that had never existed before. And, you read scripts nowadays and it's like, oof, there's a lot to do there. The good thing is people still want to do practical stuff, but it's very challenging. I would say the one series of films that when I was fortunate enough to work on it, where my jaw just hit the floor, and to this day I'm still in awe of what was achieved, would be the Lord of the Rings films. And what was done just narratively, costumes, makeup effects, miniatures, visual effects. I mean, that was unlike anything I had ever seen before or since. I've never been on a project quite like that. And as a, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit fan, it was a dream come true. And I'm just, in awe of the artists and the technicians that brought those films to life. Because, you look at, when you read the scripts, it's like, how are we even going to show this? Like, how do we do this and not make it look stupid? And they hit it out of the park. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah. Wow. Any way that you could make this look good? That would be impossible.
Come on in. We got you. We can, I don't know. It's something you want to do every single day when you get up.
No, I feel
like these are just doing nowadays. What do the kids have? Filters. We can do that now. That's
yes.
We do it.
Yes, I have a niece who sends me a message almost every day, and there's a different filter on it. And I'm like, I forgot what you look like. So back to Enchantails. Where are we at right now? How many stories are in print form?
3 stories. We have number 4 that is ready to go. We're developing the 4th style. So what we've done is we broke down the world. We have a map, and it breaks down sections of the ocean. And there's 12 sections. And each section is a different realm that has its own history and culture and philosophies. And the first 3 stories we did are one of the Mariana Trench, the Caribbean, and the Antarctic. And they all dovetail into one another. They're all connected. And one of the things we wanted to do was weave real world facts within the narrative. So there are locations. The sea life in there is from those areas. And, with a special point to conservation, because, we firmly believe that kids today are going to be tomorrow's conservationists, and they're going to be inheriting the planet. And when we're kids, we absorb things, especially if we're engaged. So we wanted to make exciting stories that really engage the reader. and had the kids understand the problems that are out there. You know, each mermaid character has a little swim buddy that is an actual endangered species native to the realm of that mermaid's world. And, you know, to take these stories, we've got 3, number 4 is in development. You know, we just try to instill, you know, a feeling of caring for nature, a caring for the oceans, but to still make an inspiring, exciting story that has, you know, little personal lessons in there too. So we're also working on the young adult series, which will take the characters and the themes, but then take it into a more teenage element. We're still working out some details for there. We have, you know, 4 chapters written of the first book, and we're really excited to tell those stories.
Oh, wow. One of the things that always boggles my mind when we talk about the ocean is the fact that we know more about outer space than we know about our own ocean.
100%, and we mapped more detail of the moon's surface than our ocean, and we lean into that fact in the stories we tell. And my wife, who was in charge of the lore and research, she discovered that every culture on the planet has a myth about mermaids. Sometimes they're good guys, sometimes they're bad guys, and we found that really fascinating. And another element we tried to put in the stories is to take regional mythologies. So if a kid from Ireland was reading about an Irish mermaid, there would be elements from those myths that we worked into the story. Again, to keep it familiar, you know, so because we wanted to be, you know, include everybody and make sure that there were things that honored the legends and the stories. So we really worked hard to do that.
One of the things that I love about that is just like in my educational magic shows, one of the things I used to do would be talking to kids about being kind and respectfully to each other. Mm-hmm. And I would just introduce the fact that, you know, the golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated. That can be found in every culture around the world, basically the same rule said in a different way. And from the beginning of time, before we even knew that there were other continents and long before we were able to communicate with other continents, everybody kind of sat down and said, this is a way to be. Treat others the way you want to be treated. And you know, that the fact that what you just brought up is that, you know, every culture around the world has these mermaid myths, and there are other myths that we share. I think that that's a great way just to get kids to think that, you know what, we don't know everything. We have these AI machines that can create stuff, and it's amazing, but we haven't figured out the past. We haven't figured out how all these stories traveled around the world, and that's pretty fascinating.
I mean, yeah, and one of the realms, obviously the big realm right now would be Atlantis. We do have an Atlantis story, an Atlantis mermaid that's going to tie in. We're not there yet, but, you know, that would be the hub. Like all the other realms are around Atlantis, and, you know, we're going to release all of the other ones as we, you know, keep moving forward. Another thing we wanted to work into our IP, our brand, is that in the stories, when each mermaid has a unique ability, and they have to learn how to develop this ability and how to work it in their day-to-day lives. But when they use that ability, their tails glow. So we quilted all of our sleeping bags with glow-in-the-dark thread to, you know, if parents can want to read bedtime stories. And, you know, I wanted an interactive thing because doing stuff with my kids, making costumes and, you know, playing games with them, that was some of our greatest memories. And again, I wanted to share that with other parents that have this interactive things they have with their kids. So, we did that as much as we could. And we also tried to make each realm distinct. Like one realm, they're very reserved. They're very quiet. They're just, a little cold. And then another realm, they meet you and you're automatically part of the family. So when those two cultures meet, there's going to be a little like not knowing how to deal with the other and not realizing that they're bad or wrong. It's just they're different, and accepting that and understanding that there are other people going to be different no matter who you meet.
Yeah, I love it. So right now, when a family goes to your website, are given the choice to buy a sleeping bag and a book together? Can they buy the sleeping bag separately, the books separately?
The books can be purchased separately. With our sleeping bag set, we went all out and had a huge package. So you get the sleeping bag, and the sleeping bag matches the mermaid that is in the story. So like Tassi is our Mariana mermaid. Her tail is purple. The Mariana, the Tassi sleeping bag is purple. We also have character decals, a pillow that if you turn the pillow over, you see a list of different realms and the mermaids' names. And we kind of put that in there. If kids want to really do some research, they can Google some things and see what they can find. Because I'm also a firm believer in letting kids discover stuff. I mean, I remember, looking for stuff in the library or, trying to find something. And when you found it, you felt like you found a treasure. So we also wanted to put that in there as well. So you get a pillow, a sleeping bag, overnight carry tote. That was my wife's contribution because she's like, going to sleepovers, you got to have your little tote. And the book comes with each bag. So that's the deluxe set, the 5-piece deluxe set, but then you can buy the book separately.
Really, really cool. You mentioned that you launched a couple of years ago. How it's successful?
It's limping along. Again, it's, the mistake I made going back to not being a real business major was underestimating the marketing aspect, and that it is relentless and it's a lot of money for marketing. I naively thought I'm going to make a few cute videos. They'll go viral and this will be awesome tomorrow. That is not how it works. I mean, I learned about SEO. So a lot of this is learning, and actually we're having some meetings right now because we are actively looking for some strategic partners and investors to see what we can do to level up, because this is more than just a sleeping bag, which is what a lot of people think it is. And there's way more to it. I mean, we're reaching out to conservation groups and developing plush toys of these endangered sea bunnies that are with each mermaid. And part of the proceeds will go towards that conservation effort. So we're working hard on that, and we'll see what 2026 brings.
Yeah. Hey, I haven't, and don't think I'll ever swim in the Antarctic Ocean.
Me neither.
I don't think I'm going to get down the Mariana Trench, but I have swum in the Caribbean. What's the swim buddy that I might encounter in the Caribbean?
So she has it's a dolphin, and his name is Kiki, and he's one of the smallest dolphins ever in existence. There's only like 30 left in the world. Oh, wow. And I don't remember the species name currently, but that's Kehlani's swim buddy, and we really wanted to focus on that because there's aggressive conservation efforts to try and bring those populations back. So again, just something like this to bring awareness that, hey, these guys are on the critical list here. We should really make some efforts to make sure they're still around.
Yeah. How do you look in your Enchantails sleeping bag?
I look great. I'm a little big for it, but I like the orange one. That's the one that appeals to me the most. That's the one I sleep in at night.
We should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about Enchantails and find out more about you.
They can go to Enchantails.com. Or you can Google my name, Mark Viniello, and you can see, as arrogant as that sounds, you can see like what movies and stuff I've worked on. There's some interviews with me online regarding special effects in my movie career. And I wanted to offer your listeners a 25% discount on their orders. If they go to our website and they type in Reading for Kids 25 at checkout, they will get 25% off their entire order.
We've had a great time speaking to the author, the founder, the driving force behind Enchantails. Our guest has been Mark Viniello. Hey, Mark, thanks so much for being on Reading with Your Kids.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, Jed.
This episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Trumpet, the Miracle Wolf Pup series. There's a brand new book in the series, and we're so excited to tell you all about it. Trumpet becomes a mom. In this exciting book, Trumpet and Lighthawk, now a bonded pair, start their own family with their very first litter of pups. Families can read together, schools can explore the importance of wolf packs in conservation, and Trumpet fans everywhere can celebrate this milestone in her incredible journey. Grab your copy today, available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, select bookstores, and the Wolf Conservation Center, where Trumpet and her family live. Plus, 50% of all profits go right back to supporting the Wolf Conservation Center, with more donated to Lighthawk Conservation Flying. So grab your book today and have a group haul for Trumpet and her family. Hey, I want to let you know that this episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Chicken Coop Chaos by Nancy Tavares. Are you ready for some barnyard fun your kids will absolutely adore? Then you've got to check out Nancy Tavares' delightful books, Chicken Coop Chaos and Chicken Coop Chaos Christmas. In the original Chicken Coop Chaos, we meet Pearl, a hen who loves peace, order, and a tidy little hen house. But when Window the Rooster barges in and decides he's not leaving, Pearl has to hatch a clever plan to take back her space. And let's just say things get hilariously chaotic. And just in time for the holidays, Chicken Coop Chaos Christmas brings even more laughs, heart, and festive feathered fun. These books are perfect for young readers, classrooms, and family read-aloud time. So flap on over to your favorite bookstore or online retailer and grab your copies of Chicken Coop Chaos and Chicken Coop Chaos Christmas today. Your kids will be clucking with joy. This episode is brought to you by OnceUponADance.com. Ignite imagination with award-winning dance and movement books. Once Upon a Dance inspires young readers to twirl, leap, and dream with whimsy and wonder. Whether your child enjoys unicorns, bats, zombies, or cats, Once Upon a Dance has a dance-it-out story to get them moving. For more information about this 37 delightful books, please visit OnceUponADance.com or find them on your favorite social media platform. Join us right now from the beautiful state of South Carolina. Our guest is here today to celebrate her new picture book. It's called Finicky Francis. Please welcome to the show, Krista Leann. Hey, Krista, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Why is Francis so finicky?
You know, it's funny you ask because I was a Finicky Francis, and I think it was just that I wasn't really sure. I thought foods looked funny, and so I thought, if this food looks funny, it must not taste very good.
Okay.
So, so I based the book off myself as a kid growing up, and like I said, I was a finicky eater, and it took me a really long time to get out of that.
You know, I kind of had this weird kind of conversation with myself just Sunday. My beautiful wife's cousin was in town, and we took them out to dinner, and they were speaking in Spanish, and we were at this great place, and this beautiful piece of salmon on my plate, and I was eating it, and I zoned out from the conversation, and I was just enjoying this piece of fish so much, and I thought to myself, why did it take me so long to try and fall in love with salmon? Because I spent most of the early part of my life not wanting to deal with fish, and I absolutely adore it now. And I'm like hitting myself for missing out all those years.
I agree. I feel the same way. So around COVID, I would say, probably a little bit before, but COVID really, being at home, I did a lot more cooking than I had ever done. And so I called them science experiments, where I would buy all these foods and all these different things, like different dressings and all these different things that I would force myself to try. And I was like, well, no one's around to judge me. So I'm just going to try these things. And if I don't like them, that's okay. At least I tried it. And then I found all these different ways to prepare healthy food. And I feel like sometimes you don't realize there are so many different ways to do that. So, once I dove into that, I was like, why did it take me so long? The same, like with you with salmon. I thought, how in the world did it take me over 30 years to enjoy something healthy?
Yeah. I'm imagining that there are a lot of families out there who have their own Finicky Francis, and maybe this book could help some of those kids get a little bit more curious.
I'm hopeful. That's kind of where I've been. Some of the people that I know who have bought the book and read it, they jokingly refer to their kid. They'll say, "We got a Finicky Francis in our house," or they'll tell their kid, "Stop being such a Finicky Francis." And I love that. And so I've gotten some really great feedback from people who have read it. And, like a speech therapist friend, she shared the book with some of her kids that she works with. And, she said that some of them had never heard, they were reading it together, and a couple of them had never heard of kiwi before. Ah. And so while they were reading the book, the kid was like, "What's a kiwi?" And so then she said, okay, well, next week I'm going to bring in some kiwi so that we can go on an adventure together and you can see all these different foods. So that was really great.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a confession to make. I think the statute of limitations has expired. My daughter's 29 now, but when she was a kid, she wouldn't eat anything but chicken.
Oh.
And we got to the point where everything that we served her was chicken. Nice rare steak. That's chicken. Okay, I'll eat it.
I love that. Oh, everybody always says certain things, they taste like chicken. And so then you get really curious about, are they really telling me the truth?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's great.
It's interesting that you kind of broke out of your finickiness during the pandemic. Pandemic changed a lot of lives.
It did, for sure. I mean, you were stuck home for so long, and then I just I'd always loved to cook and bake, but being at home and kind of isolated, I was like, okay, well, now I'm just going to bake and cook more.
Was there any food that you cooked that you said at the end, yeah, I was right, that's gross, I don't want to have that again?
Honestly, I don't think so. I think it was mostly vegetables that growing up, I was always like, that's funny looking, it's ugly, I don't like it, I don't even want to try it. I would just say, ew, no thank you.
Uh-huh.
And so during COVID, as I was trying things, I thought, okay, well, if I didn't prepare it right this way, let me try it another way. So I would try it more than once. If I didn't love the way it cooked this time, I would give it more than one shot. I figured it was only fair.
Yeah, yeah. My kids growing up, when my daughter got over her only eating chicken phase, and they started going to school, and they went to a Catholic school, but it was in a blue-collar neighborhood, and, so the kids would bring like an orange, banana, apples, but our family is bicultural, and so they were eating mangoes and ganepas from Puerto Rico. So I said, well, let's go all in. And they had kiwi, and they were the first kids to bring a kiwi into their school and a pluot. I didn't even know what a pluot was. And so I was the one sending these exotic fruits in with my kids, and they loved them. The other parents didn't, because their kids would come home and go, Mom, I want a pluot. And they'd be like, what? What's that? And they'd call me up going, what is this stuff? Where can I get it?
I've never heard of that before, so I would feel the same way.
Yeah, it's a hybrid. It's like a Frankenstein fruit. I think it's an apricot and a plum or something like that. I don't know. Yeah.
I do like both of those, so having them together, you can't really go wrong, right?
There you go. Yeah. Hey, I see on your website that you are an artist in many different fields. Did you always know that being a children's author was going to be part of that creative process for you?
Honestly, no. I have been an artist my whole life from when I was a kid. I was always painting and drawing. I was in the gifted and talented programs in school. And then I went to school for graphic design. And then, honestly, I've always evolved my, artistic skills because I enjoy learning new things with art. But it wasn't until a few years ago, I was at this local networking event and someone came up to me and asked, tell me something about yourself you've never told anyone. And I was like, oh no, this is going to be crazy. And so I said, I have a secret dream of illustrating a children's picture book. And once I said it out loud, I thought, oh no, I really have to do it. Like, this is cool. He kind of forced me to say it, but, yeah. And then at first I had never thought I would be the author and illustrator. I wanted to just illustrate. And then, I was tossing some ideas around in my head of like, well, if I'm going to illustrate the book, why don't I just write it at the same time? So, it kind of really took off from there. And, I just thought it was so fun to be able to tell a story that was about loosely based on my life, but also more fun and engaging for other people to enjoy.
Yeah. One of the things I love to ask author illustrators is what came first, the images or the story?
I would probably say the story because initially I was going to write, a book about a fox named Francis who goes on these little adventures. But then I thought, well, I'm trying to make this for kids, so I want to make it fun and simple, so that they're not, so to not overcomplicate it. And and then there are also so many books for kids about going on adventures. And so I was trying to do something a little bit different. And I thought, well, what do I know the most about? Being a picky eater. And so that's kind of, it started with a story, and then it quickly evolved. And so I really enjoyed the journey. It was stressful, but also exciting, to be able to change the narrative a little bit.
Uh-huh. I'm curious, have you traveled, to different countries? And if you have, what was the finickiness, in those different countries? Were you willing to experiment a little bit?
I have traveled to a few different countries, and yes, so initially before COVID, I think I'd gone to one country. And then after COVID, once I became less finicky, every now and then I would run into something and I would be like, I'm not really sure I want to try that. And then I would remember, nope. You have to practice what you preach. If you're going to write a children's book about picky eaters, you have to have the food courage to try things, even if they're weird and different. And so, yeah, I was it's a little bit of a stepping stone process sometimes, but it's fun at the same time, because when you try something that initially you were a little bit scared of, you're like, oh, that's interesting. Now I want to try to make that at home.
I was down in El Salvador a couple years ago, and went to this beautiful beach, and it was just gorgeous. And I sat, and I'm only one in the group that's not totally fluent in Spanish. And I'm reading the menu, and I turned to one of my troop mates, and I said, "Does this say fish from the Gulf?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "It doesn't say what kind?" She said, "No, it's whatever they caught this morning." And I go, "Okay." And that's what I got. And it was great. It was great.
Yeah.
I saw the boat that caught the fish.
It's a surprise.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, whatever. And so it was great. So I don't know if I was ever a picky eater, but there were definitely some things that I was not wanting to tread into, and I'm much more adventurous now than I had been.
Yes, same. I'm always trying to add new things into whatever meals I'm making at home. I try to like really flex the way that you can add in the healthier foods, or the weird foods, I should say. The unexpected flavors into foods that I had never thought of. So it's nice.
Yeah. Are there any foods that you want to try that you haven't had a chance to try yet?
I've never really been the biggest fan of fish.
Okay.
But my boyfriend, he'll eat anything. He's a total foodie. And so when we go places, he'll be like, "Okay, well, you got to try this." And I'm like, "Do I have to?" And he's like, "Yes, you do." And so I will. It doesn't take much pressure to do it, but I will usually. And I eat shrimp now. I was always very anti-shrimp. So little by little, I'm getting there. But fish has always been a little bit of a tough spot.
Yeah. I have a video of my niece. We're out to dinner, and somebody ordered shrimp, and she said, "I'd never tried that before." And they said, "Well, here, have a shrimp." And there's this buildup, and she's, and then when she bit into it, and she said, "Oh, this isn't bad. Why is it so crunchy?" It's like, "Oh, the bones." And what? One of the things my daughter does when she goes out is, she'll take a look at the menu, and when the server comes over, she'll say, "What's your favorite thing in the menu?" And the server will tell her, and she'll go, "Oh, yeah, I'll have that." Which is incredibly daring.
It is. I did that. I was just in DC last week for my job, and we went to this fancier restaurant that I've been to before and I love. And I asked the waiter, I said, "All right, between these two options, which one should I get?" And without hesitation, he told me which one. I don't even remember what it was called, but it was delicious. So it's a very brave thing to do, to ask someone else to choose your meal. But I feel like 9 times out of 10, it usually comes out like you understand why it's their favorite.
Yeah. How does it feel like to have a book that you created, that you wrote and illustrated, out in the world, and thinking and knowing that families are cuddled up together on their couch reading your book?
It's exciting. It's been a long time coming because this has been a few years in the or a couple years in the making. When I initially wrote it in 2023, it took me about 6 months to write and illustrate it. I sent it out to a bunch of publishers and agents, got a lot of rejections. So I was discouraged for a bit, put it on a shelf because I thought, okay, well, something's obviously not working. And then earlier this year, I picked it back up and revisited it completely, hired an editor, and really just to help me figure out the points that needed to be improved. And then from there, it really took off. And it's been really exciting because to have it actually published now, and I did self-publish it because, like I said, the agents and the publishers, nobody was biting, but I thought I'm not going to give up on my dream just because someone else doesn't like it. And so I really just did it all myself, and I'm kind of winging the whole process, learning as I go. And it's been very rewarding at the same time because, I'm learning so much about, children's books and the publishing process and the marketing side and getting it out there. So it's been a journey.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we often tell self-published authors is that when you created that book, you became the CEO of your business.
That's right. Yes, it's great. I have so many people that are supportive of this journey as well. So I'm really lucky for them and all of their feedback and their encouragement. So I love that.
Have you had a chance to do a reading at a bookstore or library or school yet?
Not yet. That is my hope. I'm actually doing my first book event this coming Sunday, the 30th, locally. It's like my book launch party, the official book launch party. So that's really exciting because it's a family-friendly event. This local bookstore is so kindly letting me use their store to host who knows how many people. I invited probably about 100,000. Just from all these local groups. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing how that turns out.
Yeah. Well, I envision a line down the street waiting to get in to get their copy of Finicky Francis.
I hope so. I'm looking forward to seeing how everybody responds to the event and the book itself, but, also just really appreciative of everyone who's going to make the time to come out.
You are a creative, so you have that imagination. Tonight, I want you to think about we're 10 years in the future, 15 years in the future, and somebody comes up to you you're at your 40th book signing. Your book number 40 is out there, and someone comes up and says, I was Finicky Francis when I was 3, and I read that book, and now I eat everything. It's beautiful.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. Is there another project in the works? I know you're busy with the launch and everything, but are you juggling another story?
I do have some ideas, and I think I'm in the initial research phase to see what other titles might be out there similar, because I think I want to make sure that I'm not, reinventing the wheel. I'd like to come up with something that's my own, but also I like to add humor in my stories. And so I'm looking to create my next book, maybe even a little funnier than Finicky Francis, and make it fun. So I am excited about some ideas I've been coming up with, and I like for them to just happen naturally sometimes, because I'll just be sitting around and an idea will come in my head, and I'm like, ooh, I wonder if anybody else has done this.
Okay.
Just to make sure that I'm not coming up with something that is already incredibly successful, and yeah.
Well, one of the things that's interesting, many people pitch ideas to me, and they say, I created this book because I needed a book like this, and I just couldn't find one. And meanwhile, it's like, well, we've had 15 authors talk about that subject. You didn't look. But every topic can be looked at from a different perspective. So the fact that there might be someone who's written something similar, finicky, whatever the new idea is, go for it anyways.
Yes, for sure. I mean, there are tons of books out there about kids who are picky eaters, but I didn't find one that had like my style and my storytelling. So I thought, okay, well, even though there are books out there about picky eaters, I'm adding my own character to it. and my own flair. And I make sure not to read their stories all the time necessarily because I don't want to be too influenced. And so, yeah, I just try to come up with it all on my own and see kind of where it takes me.
You mentioned that you, before Finicky Francis came to be, your goal was to illustrate a children's book. Why don't we pitch that? We have lots of authors and aspiring authors out there. Make a pitch to them to maybe reach out to you to have you illustrate their children's book.
Yeah, that'd be great. Since that was my biggest dream and I'm kind of coming into that now, I would love to be able to help other authors bring their stories to reality and see their story come to life in illustrations. I think that would only add to make my dream bigger, because it's so fun to read people's stories and imagine how that can really come to life on a page for someone to read. So, I would love to be able to help another author do that.
Well, let's tell everybody where they can go to find out more about Finicky Francis and also to know how to reach out to you if they would like you to illustrate their book.
Yeah, so Finicky Francis is available for purchase on Amazon, online with Barnes & Noble and Books A Million. And then I'll also be posting a link directly to my website where they can order it there as well if they need to. But yeah, someone can reach out to me. My website is littlebitcreativeco.com. And also that's my Instagram handle, that anyone can reach out to me if they want to have their book illustrated. I would love to help.
Awesome. We've had a really great time speaking to the author of Finicky Francis. It's the debut picture book from our guest, Krista Leann. Hey, Krista, thanks for being on Reading with Your Kids.
Thanks so much. I'm so glad I got to be able to be on.
Hey, that's it for this episode of Reading with Your Kids. If this episode made you smile or gave you something to think about, please share a link to the show with someone you love. Write a 5-star review, and of course, we would love it if you could subscribe to the show. We'd also love it if you connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, @readingwithyourkids on Instagram, and @JedleyMagic on X. We have a great YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids. And of course, our website, we think that's pretty great too. It's readingwithyourkids.com. Now, when you get to readingwithyourkids.com, on our landing page, you're going to see a big button that says Helping All Families Grow Closer Through Reading. Right under there's going to be a player that features the most recent 4 episodes of the podcast. And then underneath that player, there's a link that says click here to listen to all of our past episodes. When you click that link, it takes you to our podcast page, and there's a search bar up at the top of the page. So say if you want to listen to our interview with LeVar Burton, you just type in LeVar Burton in that search button, click the search link, and the episodes featuring LeVar will pop up, as in you can do the same with all the other guests that you've heard of us talking about here on the podcast. Speaking of guests, we want to thank the guests who made today's show so wonderful. Mark Viniello. Please be sure to check out Enchantails. Also want to thank Krista Leann. Please be sure to check out Finicky Francis. If you have a finicky eater in your family, maybe it's you. Check out the book. Let us know how that book may have helped you. I want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support and love that she brings into my life. Most of all, we want to thank you. We are here for you. We're here for your family. And we are so happy that you are there for us, helping to make the world a better, more loving, more empathetic place. And you do that every time you read with your kids. Hey, my name's Jed Lee. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.
In the belly of the beast, where it's shadowy and deep, little bunny felt a wiggle, waking from her sleep. She didn't know much, but she knew one thing. Her heart started thumping to a dancy little swing. Tiptoe, tiptoe, then spin. His ballerina, leap into the light, twirl through the magic with your heart shining bright. Shake off the shadows, stretch your paws to the sky. jump high. With a sparkle and a swoosh, she hopped out to explore. Every flutter of her feet made her love dancing more. She searched for what was missing with a wiggle and a grin. Every plie, every bend brought a friend closer in. Please sway side to side, hop. As ballerina leap into the light, twirl through the magic with your heart shining bright. Shake off the shadows, stretch your paws to the sky. Dance your way free, little bunny, jump high. Tiptoe soft like fairy dust, spin with courage, lead with trust. Scooch and crawl and flap with glee. Every move says come dance with me. Flap, crawl. Big rainbow arms,